When you're up against a hostile room of people who don't want to be there, you need real strategies that get results. Welcome to From Hostage to Hero, the show that gives you practical advice you can use right now in the courtroom, boardroom, or classroom. Learn how to move your unwilling audience to one that is invested in what you're saying, eager to participate, and engaged in the process. Learn from the attorney whisperer herself, your host, Sari Delamotte.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of From Hostage to Hero. Sari Delamotte here with you today. How's everybody doing? Thinking about you all the time. If you haven't already, join the From Hostage to Hero Facebook group. We're having lots of fun in there. You're missing out. And all y'all who are like, I don't have Facebook, just get an account. Listen, if you're worried that joining Facebook is going to make you super hip and cool, it won't. Apparently, it's just for old people now. So join us all other old people over there, and we're having a good time. You don't have to do anything except for join From Hostage to Hero. Literally, set all your privacy things up, and nobody needs to even know you're on there, and you can just come and have fun with us. Other announcements. If you're enjoying the podcast, would you please review it? Even just tap the 5 stars if you think it's a 5-star podcast. I have a goal, people, and I plan on making it. I want those reviews up. Plus, that gets us into the hands of other attorneys. Don't you want other people to be hearing this podcast? I hope you do if you're enjoying it and loving it. So I love you. Send me some love. That's all. All right. Today, I had to get the love part out before I'm about to say what I'm going to say. We're talking about how it's not about you. And what I mean by it's not. Trial is not about you. And I actually say this because it's kind of connected to the last week's episode about the underdog, and it came out of that webinar with Jesse Wilson, again, which is housed in the From Hostage to Hero group if you want to go take a look. About the harnessing the power of the underdog, but we also talked about this idea of how it's not about you. And you've heard me say on this podcast before, for example, in voir dire, if you're saying it's just so hard and I just feel like I'm in the spotlight and I don't ever know what to say, then you're doing it wrong, right? Because voir dire shouldn't be about you, and trial is not about you. And just to further confuse you before we unpack this in today's episode, it's not about you, but it's totally about you. I had to make it a little bit confusing. Listen, here's what we're talking about, is that you are the conduit from which all of the good stuff needs to get to the jury. So in that way, it is totally about you, meaning your job is to allow all the things that are naturally present in trial and in your favor, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute, to flow through you without interruption or without obstacles. And there is the problem. Because when you don't do that, when you don't allow it to come through you, the reason for that is because you're making it about you. So let me unpack this a little bit. We tend to think that trial's about us in that we've got to be the best communicators. We've got to be perfect storytellers. We can never be nervous. We have got to have everything said perfectly. I mean, you've heard me talk about the advice out there about having to type out your opening word for word and read it. Oh, God, help me. But this is where this comes from. This energy of we have to be perfect because trial's all about us. And if we are not charismatic, if we are not perfect presenters, if we are not perfect conversationalists, then the whole thing is going to go to hell in a handbag. Nothing could be further from the truth. And by the way, it's an objective that is not reachable. We cannot ever get to the point where we do this perfectly, that we're perfectly persuasive, charismatic, whatever else. And putting that out there as this attainable goal does not serve you. It doesn't. And it gets in your way, because then you start to get in your own way. You start to get into your own head. You start to think about, if I had just done this, if I had just tried this technique, if I had just not made this mistake. As Jesse said in the webinar, Jesse Wilson of Tell the Winning Story, he said that he was working with a director once, and Jesse himself was on stage really struggling. And the director came up to him and said, "Your struggle is our gift." And I think that's so true, is that, yes, we want to work on being good presenters. Yes, we want to make sure that we have great conversations with the jury. Yes, we want to talk and think about persuasive techniques and get our content the best way we know how. But our realness is really where our power lies, our being genuine. I've told the story many times of the attorney that stood in front of the jury and just shook. He was so nervous. And the jury loved it. Why? Because it proved that he was real and authentic. And it also proved that what he was trying to do was so important to him personally that he would do it in front of a group of people, even if it made him shake. You can't manufacture that. You can't buy that kind of power that has in front of the jury. It's your realness and your authenticity that allows what's already in your favor to shine through. Now, what do I mean? I keep saying what's already in your favor. Listen, we are making this way too hard. Way too hard. Because so much is already in your favor when it comes to trial. For instance, we talk about voir dire. People love to talk about themselves. Now, I know we have all of the obstacles, and I talk about them in my book, about how this is a weird space and they don't know each other and whatnot. But once we get some of those safety pieces, as I talk about in the first step of From Hostage to Hero, people actually really do love to talk about themselves. That's in our favor. That's in our favor. But what do? We get in our own way. Instead of allowing people to talk about themselves, and go back a couple of episodes to resonant conversations, and having resonant conversations which are actually really easy to do. If you get out of your own way, we do what? We talk. We lecture. We try to make it about the case. We don't thank the jurors after they're done talking. We're in our own head. We're thinking about what we should say next. We're worried about the silence. We are not allowing something that naturally occurs in nature, in human nature, to just occur. We're making it too fucking hard. Why? We're getting in our own way. We're thinking of all the techniques and the things we should be doing and all the things we learned at CLE, and I got to make sure that we stay on track and blah, blah, blah. When we're ignoring the naturalness of people wanting to talk about themselves once we set it up correctly. 2, what else is in your favor? People love stories. From the beginning of time until now, we love stories. As Jesse Wilson says, trust the story. But we don't trust the story, do we? We get in our own way here. We make it too complicated. We don't make it a story. There's no acting. There's no dialogue. There's no movement. We stand there and we just give facts and we call it storytelling. We refuse to engage. We refuse to get into it. Listen, my 4-year-old can tell you when I'm not telling a story the right way. She wants the voices. She wants the action. She wants the hand gestures. And you know what? So do adults. We love a good story. And you know what we love even more? A good storyteller. But we get in our way there too. We tell ourselves, well, it's too dramatic. And what if I don't do it right? And it sounds silly. And when the natural power of storytelling is in your favor. People already love stories. Guess what? We don't need to make them like stories. We just need to tell stories and get out of our own way. What else is in your favor? There's power in groups. The group dynamic is one of the strongest dynamics on the earth. Read some of the research about the stupid shit that people do when they're in groups that they would never do individually. The group dynamic is powerful. How do we get in our way here? We don't form the group. We treat voir dire and trial as individual conversations. We talk to jurors individually. We have these one-on-one conversations. We interrogate them. Listen, the jury, what they have to do together. The actual verdict room is a group activity. And yet we ignore that until they go back there by themselves and have no idea what the hell they're supposed to be doing. The group dynamic is present. It's there. It's waiting for us to work with it if we would only get out of our own way. But we don't form the group. We worry about the group. We worry about the individual jurors. We're focused on, the jurors that are going to kill my case, right? Your energy is all over in the wrong space when this naturally occurring thing, the strength of a group dynamic, this is not something I'm making up. You know this in your own life, is there to be worked with and used and ready. People want to be part of a group dynamic. Belonging is one of the top needs of us as humans, and we ignore it. We get in our own way. And you know what else is in your favor? You've heard me say this before. You stand on the side of the right. You stand on the side of the right. You're standing up for human values. You're standing for what matters. And yet, what do we do to get in our own way there? Instead of standing firmly in our power of that we are in the right, we start to hear all the things the defense is bringing up or nitpicking or doing all the things, and we just jump in and we start defending the defenses. We start saying in our own minds, their story is more important, so let's shift the focus over to what story they're telling and try to poke holes in that, recognizing by even poking holes in their story, we're making their story important. Because remember, story is powerful. Let's tell our story. As many people have said, I'm sure there's somebody I should be attributing to this, trial is just a war of whose story's better. The minute that you delete your story and just go over to their story and start poking holes in it, you've lost your power because now your story is gone. The one thing that could really help you win this thing. Listen, this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that trial is not about you. Trial is about all of these things that are naturally present in the trial situation. People wanting to talk about themselves, people loving stories, the power of groups, the fact that you stand on the right, and your job, your only job, is to get the fuck out of your own way. This is why I so strongly suggest that many of you get coaching. Why? Some of you are like, I don't know what coaching is. I'm like, well, then fucking figure it out. Find out. My husband, Kevin, who coaches now just trial lawyers, he's somehow been dragged in this world too. He does sample sessions for free. Go to sorrydlm.com and click on Meet Sorry, and he's down there. And you can click on a sample session with him, and you can check out coaching. And no, it's not therapy, although some of y'all need to be in therapy too. There's no shame in therapy. I've been in years of therapy. Therapy is all about healing, okay? Coaching is all about getting out of your own way. And they both have crossover, of course. But I've had attorneys that are like, okay, I'll check this out. They're now working with Kevin. And they're like, oh my God, this is so important, right? Because trial, yes. Does it serve you to become a better presenter? Yes. Does it serve you to go to some storytelling seminars with Jesse Wilson or whoever else? Yes. Does it serve you to learn how to form the group? Yes. All of those things are great, and they serve you not because they in themselves are what is powerful, but because they allow you to let what's naturally occurring in trial to happen without your interference. That you don't get in your own way. The only reason storytelling doesn't work is because you get in your own way and in your own head about it and what is not appropriate. The only reason forming the group doesn't work is because you're in your own head about which jurors are about to kill you and that you should kill them first. The only reason why people aren't talking in voir dire is because you're in your own way talking yourself. This is how trial is not about you. Trial is set up in many ways to serve you if you would just get out of your own way. So that's what we're talking about. And that's why this is so important. So get some coaching. Start looking at where you can give and be of service in trial instead of what you can get from juries. Give them certainty, give them loyalty, give them the gift of expecting the best of them. Set that tone right from the beginning and see how your experience starts to change. Go in with that feeling that you are there as a conduit to allow the naturally human things to happen. And trust, my friends. Trust in the power of these things. Trust in the power of conversation. Trust in the power of story. And for God's sake, trust in yourself to get out of your own way, to get out of your own head, and to let the jury do the work that they were meant to do. You don't have to work so hard. You just need to show up and show the jury some attention and some love, and give your story some love, and just give it all you got and get the fuck out of your own way. We're here to help. We're here to help. We know this is a tough business. We know that there are a million voices shouting at you constantly about what you should and shouldn't do at trial. And what I'm saying is, let's simplify this, my friends. Let's get out of our own way and let these very, very strong things that are in your favor speak for themselves. And you are there to just allow it to happen and to rest and to trust and to lean into the process instead of trying to manipulate it and work so hard at it. You are enough, my friends. You are enough. Let the strengths of these things that are in your favor already carry the day, and relax into it and trust. All right. Love y'all. Talk soon.
That's it for this episode of From Hostage to Hero. But head to our website, saridlm.com, for other must-have resources from Sari Delamotte. Read the transcript of this podcast, watch trial tip videos, or download your free copy of Sari's article, Why Jurors Hate the Hobby Question. We're glad you joined us today, and until next time, remember that to lead a hostage to freedom, you must first free yourself.